So my husband and I got married in October of 2015, and the beginning of October, we found out we were pregnant the end of October. And we went for our first ultrasound December 7th, and we found out we were having twins. So that was a huge, huge surprise. And I'm a big planner. Like, I like my plans. I like things to go according to plan. Twins were not in my plan. And the pregnancy was pretty good. I mean, I had like the normal monitoring that you have for multiples and that kind of thing, but nothing really extreme. And then I was due in July of 2016. And my water broke in May of 2016. So the boys came 8 weeks early on May 6th of 2016, Abel and Gideon, and they spent 6 weeks in the NICU at the hospital, which was a whole like walk of just letting my plans go. And that's like the big thing that God has been teaching me through all of this, is that my plans don't really matter. I can plan all I want, and I still just, not everything turns out the way I think it's going to. So the whole 6 weeks that they were in there, just a lot of just trusting, and like different little things would go wrong, but they came home. They were born Mother's Day weekend that year. They came home Father's Day weekend, and it was good. I went back to work. I was done with maternity leave the last week of July in 2016, and I went back to work, and we had just like a family friend watching them and everything. And then on August 5th of 2016, I got the call at lunchtime that one of our boys was in the ER. And I work at the hospital, so I went down to the ED, and it was our son Gideon, and he had gone down for his nap, and when they went to get him up for lunch, he wasn't breathing. And I remember just calling my husband, and he works in Lancaster, so it's a 45-minute drive back to York. And I was like, you need to get here now. And I remember it felt like it took hours for him to get there. But I called my mom, and those are the only 2 phone calls I could make. Thankfully, I had someone with me that could make all the other phone calls. And I just remember walking into that room, and I just already knew, being a nurse myself, like I had already known. And I just kept begging them. I was like, please don't stop. And Brad finally had come, and our families were there, and everything happened so quickly. It felt like time kind of stood still. But everything had happened very, very quickly, and I just remember praying so hard, and I remember asking God, like, if you just like bring him back, like I will do whatever I need to do. I will take care of him for the rest. Please, I can't. And again, my plans just did not. Obviously, that was not in my plans. And I remember that I had a strange peace about things, but I couldn't explain it, and I was very, I don't know, I just had a peace about it, and so we went in, and we had planned everything, and that was on a Friday, and we came to church that Sunday, and just everyone just surrounded us with so much love and so much, they just loved on us, which is exactly what we needed at that point. And I remember there was one song that Heather did in worship, and she played it for us at Gideon's funeral, and it was that it is well with my soul. And just that part about, letting your soul, letting go, and just letting God do what he needs to do and do that work. And as I was getting ready for this today, I remembered there was a part in my journal, and I'm just going to read it. It's from Wednesday, August 3rd, which was 2 days before we lost Gideon. God just put Psalms 139 and 16 on my heart, and it just says that God knew us before we were formed, and he has a plan for each of us. And I just said, I think we were just having a rough night of sleeping. I think with 2 newborn twins, if someone wasn't up, the other was, and I think it had just been a rough night of that. And I just remember praying and just asking him to help me remember that he knew these boys before we even knew them, and he knew that there was going to be hard times, and he knew that, and I just said about how they weren't even ours to begin with, and they were just loaned to us for such a short time. I didn't know that 2 days later we would lose Gideon, but I feel like the Holy Spirit was just prepping my heart for that just, they were loaned to us. And I think that's where the peace came from, was that, they weren't mine to begin with. They aren't, Abel still isn't mine. We're just loaned them. And so Brad and I eventually went back to work. Things went back to what our new normal was. We had to start Abel with a new sitter, which we were thankful that we had a family friend that was willing to help out. But all the transitions and stuff, it was just a lot. It was a lot on us emotionally, but we were hooked up with an amazing ministry, Sweet Grace Ministries, and they go into the hospitals and they deal with, they give baskets and bags to people who have miscarriages and stillbirths, and it's just a lot of good resources in there, and they have support groups every month, and we got active in our support group, but it still just wasn't enough. It took a toll on us because men and women grieve differently, and it took a toll on our marriage, and there was just points where we were both just like, this, we are not going to survive this, it's just not going to happen. And but we did, but I think the big thing was, there was a point where God was just like, I need you to let go of what you think this is going to look like. And you need to just, because I still had plans. Even though up until this point, nothing I had planned had actually gone or come to fruition. It had just, nothing had happened the way I wanted it to. And there was just a point where God was like, I need you to let me be able to move in the way that I can move. And so I did. I stopped expecting things to look a certain way, and I stopped expecting my motherhood to look a certain way, or I stopped expecting my marriage to look like someone else's, or, expecting my husband to do things that other husbands did. I dropped the expectations, and that is where God was just able to move, and he just melted the stone around, the ice around that was around my heart. He just melted it, and I was able to just really love on people. Out of my grief, I was able to share my faith out of what had happened, because people were like, I don't know how you're getting up every morning. I don't know how, I still have a child. I don't have a choice, but that's just, that's what God does. You can just keep going. And there were still hard times, and the end of 2017, I was finding myself again, that empty, just restless. I found myself being restless again. I was starting to try and we had bought a house in 2017, and I had found myself trying to take back control. Everything seemed to be going well because I had loosened my control. So I was like, all right, God, I got this. And I felt that old restlessness coming up again, and God I had just prayed for a word for 2018, because I was like, Lord, I need something fresh. I need something new. And so he gave me the word joy, and I was like, okay, that's a pretty good word. Except 2018 has been full of hardships and just everything that could go wrong, like Murphy's Law, it just did. And just situations that I just never thought I would have found myself in that are the furthest from joy. And it has been a fight, and it has taken quite a few months for me to realize that joy is a choice, but it is also a fruit of the Spirit, and I wrote this in my journal a couple weeks ago, that it's only cultivated by spending time with God in His Word and really finding that true everlasting joy. And it's just amazing. And again, I had to drop all of my plans and all of my expectations for everything. And that is like, and now I'm just like, I'm a little more go with the flow. It's a work in progress. It's not perfect. But that's the biggest thing that God has just done in my life through all of this, through losing Gideon, and through the things that we've had to overcome in our marriage, and just all that kind of stuff has just been just dropping my plans and letting God move how He wants to move. And when I do that, it's amazing. I mean, we were able to buy a house. We were able to buy a house where we wanted to. It doesn't look perfect or pretty or whatever, and there's still work that needs to be done, but we were able to own our own home. It's just amazing what happens when you just let God do His thing. And that was the biggest thing that came out of losing Gideon was because everything in me just wanted to crawl. And I still have days where I want to crawl into bed and just throw the covers over my head. And I also let myself have those days where I'm like, this just isn't a really good day. But, God has promised to never leave or forsake me, even on the days that aren't good. And He's just always there. And whether it's just a song or a verse or just a friend calling to check in and say, hey, I know the boy's birthday's coming up, or I know this is coming up. How are you doing with that? And He just showed me, even in the church, just the community and how important community is, and how important it is that when something tragic happens with people, you really need to come alongside them and walk it out with them. You can't let them walk it alone. And there's always, meeting these people in the support group has opened my eyes to how many people walk through these sort of things. Maybe not losing their 3-month-old to SIDS, but there's people that have walked through multiple miscarriages, and you don't know what somebody's facing. And it just helps me even be a mom, a better wife, a better nurse. It just helps me be better because I'm more aware that there's probably a backstory there that you're not getting. And that's why people come at you the ways that they come at you sometimes. And I don't know, and John 10:10 always has just been my verse for a couple of months now, that the thief comes to steal and kill and destroy, and he has tried to destroy my family through losing Gideon, and through just whatever he can try to get in. And but God came that we could have life, and that we could have it abundantly, and that joy, that we could just overflow it, and that we could just overflow with love, and that we could just overflow into other people. And that's been my prayer. When all of this happened, I was like, God, I cannot let this happen. I can't lose my son in vain. Something good has to come from this. And I thought what I could do for the good, but it turned out what God did for me, and how He just changed my heart, and how He just, and it's not perfect. It's a process, but it is definitely, I'm not the same person that I was 2 years ago, and that is a huge, huge thing.